Oh, hello everybody, we're back.
Covering Addicts went and fucked up.
Yes, good morning winners. It's been a while since we've done one of these videos, but we just wanted to touch bases with you guys and let you guys know that even living on life's terms, that we are here. You guys are never far from our thoughts.
NA, 12 stepping. Alright? Last time we did a video, it was step 8. And it was, we made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make an amends to them all. The reason we waited this long to make the next video was because that list of amends might have been a little longer for some of you guys.
A little bit long, some short, some long. Mine was long. This week is step 9. We made a direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when doing so would injure them or others.
That's right.
All right, so this is a working step. This is where you gotta actually take some action. Right. All right, so it says this step should not be avoided. Let's say that again. This step should not be avoided. If we do, we're reserving a place in our program for relapse. Pride, fear, procrastination often seems an impossible barrier. They stand in the way of progress and growth. The important thing is to take action and to be ready to accept the reactions of those persons we have harmed. We make amends to the best of our ability.
So where are my procrastinators at? Alright, so it says here, procrastination, pride, and fear are a reservation for
relapse.
If you ain't working on your recovery,
you're working on your relapse.
Straight up.
We say that several times. Guilt is also a big one too. It says time is an essential part of this step. We should make amends when the opportunity presents ourselves, except when doing so will cause harm. Sometimes we cannot actually make the amends. It is neither possible or practical. In some cases, amends may be beyond our means. We find the willingness that can be served in places of actions where we are unable to contact the person that we have harmed. However, we should never fail to contact anyone because of embarrassment, fear, or procrastination.
Don't let that be the reason. Embarrassment, fear, and procrastination should not be the reason. Okay? There's times that the people we need to make an amends to are no longer with us. Now, deal with your sponsor, with your group, your pastor, your counselor, whoever it is you're doing your step work with, and they're going to come up with ways that you could still make that amends even if the person is no longer with us.
In writing letters, in community acts, wherever you can, you still want to try to make the amends indirectly. That way you could put that part of your past, of your addiction, throw it in the bag. Or out the bag.
Out the bag.
You
don't want no more shit in your bag. But when the opportunity arises, grab that shit. Handle that. You know what I mean? It's gonna make your load a lot lighter. You know, my first amends, I'll never forget it. You know, and it was because God put this individual in our path, right? And this was a police officer that we've been dealing with our whole life.
Officer Black of Oakley PD.
Damn, put that nigga on blast.
He's very well known.
Yeah. But, and you know, we don't patronize with the opposition. So when this situation came, it was like, man, do I talk to this officer or do I don't? My code tells me not to ever talk to a police officer. But my amends tells me I need to take care of that situation right then and there. And I did it, you know. Pulled this off. Now we pulled the officer over. Nah, he was walking, and you know we asked him for a minute, and we told him our situation, you know, and we told him we recognized our actions had led to his behavior, you know, and we not
really
in control.
Thought this. Sorry to interrupt you, but we really thought this officer in our active addiction was out for us. Like would go out his way to mess with us, and that was our active addiction, of course, but you know we rationalized it in every which way that we thought this guy was really out to make our life a living hell.
Yeah, he woke up every day thinking, how am I gonna fuck these niggas' life up?
Right, like he thought of Jen and Lou.
But you know, once we told him our situation and wanted to make an amends with him, he said that in his 35 years of service, he had never been in that situation where he was lost for words.
Yeah.
You know, and that was amazing. You know what I mean? An officer was there and he was like, you know, if you guys really want to be a part of this community again, there's a lot of community service you guys could be doing.
Yeah, because in doing so of asking for amends, we asked, is there something that we could do to make right? And boy, did he give us his feedback on that one.
And so, and in that, we took action and, you know, we started doing things, blessing bags. We started feeding the homeless, feeding the needy, helping out in the community. And
Spreading
all those
awareness.
are ways to finish off that amends that we started with him, you know? And it felt good to bring closure to that because, like I said, your bag, that sack of shit you were carrying, it's getting lighter and lighter the more amends you make. And pretty soon, your side of the street is going to span clean, you know?
You're able to walk lighter, and you're able to
no more guilt, no more shame, none of that.
Keep going on in your recovery to where you're not hindered by your guilt and your shame and your, you know, just your ways of life that were once before. All right, so it says, we want to be free of our guilt, but we do not wish to do so at an expense of anyone else. We might run the risk of avoiding a third person or some companion from our using days who does not wish to be exposed. We do not have the right or need to endanger another person. If it's often necessary to take guidance from others in these matters. We recommend turning our legal problems over to the lawyers, our financial and medical problems to the professionals. Part of learning is to live successfully, is learning when we need help. So in making amends, talk to your sponsor. Our first reaction, our first instinct to do something, especially in the beginning of recovery, isn't always the best. You know, we're still fueled from how we are, how we deal with things in our addiction, and it still holds tight onto us. So talk to your support group, talk to your sponsor or your pastor or whoever it is, whoever your person is in your recovery process. Talk to them and say, look, I got to make this amends. How should I go about it? How would you go about it? And then just take that into consideration before just, you know, being gung-ho about it. And, you know, because you're not always going to get the response that you would want.
Expectations are set up for failure. So, and also, when doing this, you got to practice, the awareness, because you don't want to put yourself or that other person in a situation, you know, where you're causing more harm than you actually making a situation better. You know, there's times where things have to be left alone, you know, because you will cause more harm by trying to make that amends than you are of actually making that situation any better. You know, there's certain things that you've done that I know I've done that I can't just go back and try to make that right. So things are better left alone, but know that there's a reason why, because it tells us here, when you make an amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Okay, if you're going to put yourself in a situation where you know you done robbed the connect already, you can't go put yourself in that situation again and be like, hey, I want to make an amends with you. No, he's still in his active addiction and might be packing still, and
it's not safe for
it's not
you
safe
or
for you
him.
or for that person. You're making things worse by that situation, you know. And so just practice that, you know what I mean? Awareness, you know, use common sense.
Or sometimes maybe that person doesn't know that you did them harm. In those situations, you may not want to bring up the exact nature of your wrongdoing, but you have to still make amends because you don't want to be holding on to that because it's only going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So in that case, you know, let them know that there was some harm, but you don't have to get in detail. You don't have to, you know, rehash that wound. You don't have to bring it back up.
That's what it's about. That's exactly what it is. It's you don't want to relive that situation again, you know? You
don't want to hurt them again. Like, what's done is done.
Yeah.
This is the part where you're asking for healing. You're asking for, you know, not so much as forgiveness, but just to make right. Just to like, look, I know I fucked up. I know I hurt you, but let me make this right to you.
If possible.
If possible,
Right.
you know. In some old relationships, an unresolved conflict may still exist. We do our part and resolve the old conflict by making our amends. We want to step away from further antagonism and outgoing resentments. In many instances, we can only go from the person and humbly ask for understanding of our past wrongs. Sometimes this will be a joyous occasion when old friends or relatives prove willing to let go of their bitterness. Contact someone who is still hurting from that burn of our misdeeds can be dangerous. Ouch. Indirect amends may be necessary where direct ones would be unsafe and endanger other people. We make our amends to the best of our ability. We try to remember that when we make amends, we're doing it for ourselves. Instead of feeling guilty and remorseful, we feel relieved from our past.
All right. So once again, we're doing this step because we're trying to make right from our past wreckage. You know, a wreckage from our past. You know, once we started our recovery, we are no longer causing harm, but we're still have that wreckage back there. So we're trying to make that right. You know, and that's how you reach a point of serenity. You know, where a peace. You know, you're like, okay, I done did right from my past, and like it says, times are going to be good. Somebody's going to be thankful. Somebody's going to be grateful that you're in recovery, and they're going to be like, oh my God, this is the best thing for you, and give you a hug and be like, you know, I'm glad you're clean.
But then there's times where they don't believe you, or they're not there yet. They're still hurt. They're still holding on to all the damage that you have done. There was one time where Luis needed letters for court for his character reference to help him in his case, and I asked 10 people. Out of those 10 people, I got 2, and one of them. And another person was like, okay, I will write it, but I want to see him before. I want to see, you know, how he is before go write this letter for him. It was then we saw the damage that we had did to everybody and to hurt the people that we love the most.
But it was nobody's fault but my own. I had caused that reaction in that person. I had caused that reaction out of all these people. They were protecting themselves. You can't ask somebody to do something that's out of character for them, you know? And I can't hold on and be like, oh, that's fucked up, you didn't write a letter for me. No, that was my actions that brought that upon myself, you know? And that's me cleaning out my side of the street. You know, everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out, you know? But it opened our eyes to see the harm and fear that we had caused in people. The trust was gone, you know? People didn't believe. People didn't trust, you know what I mean? They're like, okay, this is going to blow over. He's going to say he's clean for 30 days and then go right back to what he was doing. Because that's the story. That's our MO. That's the thing, you know what I mean? Most addicts...
I think a lot of addicts could relate to that. Like, people have doubt, like, oh no, they're this isn't serious. This is only temporarily, and then they're going to go back to using. But look at us now.
The best way for that is consistency. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Ain't nothing speaks louder than your actions when you're in recovery, you know?
Yeah. It says, in the process of our recovery, we are restored to sanity, and part of our sanity is effectively relating to others. We less often view people as a threat to our security. Real security will replace the physical aches and mental confusion that we have experienced in our past. We approach those that we have harmed with humility and patience. Most of our sincere well-wishers may be reluctant to accept our recovery as real. We must remember the pain that they have known. In time, many miracles will occur. Boom. Many of us who were separated from our families succeed in establishing relationships with them. Eventually, it becomes easier for them to accept the change in us.
Clean time speaks for itself.
Yes, clean time speaks for itself. Patience is an important part of recovery. The unconditional love that we experience will rejuvenate our will to live, and each positive move on our part will be matched by the unexpected opportunity. A lot of the courage and faith goes into making an amends, and a lot of the spiritual growth results. We are achieving freedom from the wreckage of our past. We will want to keep our house in order by practicing the continuous personal inventory in step 10.
Okay. So keeping your house in order, all right? That's going to go on a little more in step 10 about that. But the process of getting to a clean house is by cleaning it up first. Once your house is clean, then it becomes a need to keep it that way, okay? And that's what step 10 is going to go on about. But in order to achieve that cleanness is that we need to take care of that past wreckage, you know?
It's spiritual growth. It's a mental clarity that, you know, you're not always going to get, you know, welcoming, oh, hey, okay, all is well.
But you're not doing it for them.
But you're not doing it for them, exactly. And what you're doing it for is so that you're able to continue your walk in your recovery. And patience is a virtue. And so when doing this, you know, appreciate the ones who are there that, you know, will accept you for who you are and see that, you know, it wasn't the real you in your active addiction. But the ones that are still holding on to that bitterness, love them a little bit harder, whether it's from a distance or not. You know, just make your actions speak louder than any words that you have ever said. Continue walking, you know, and it'll speak for itself. All right, so we have some questions that are going to help us.
That pertain to the 9th step.
That are going to help us
keep track of everything.
Keep track of everything.
You got to remember, there's all kinds of amends that we can make. There's all kinds of things that if we don't take care of them, remember, they are reservations for a relapse. If you're not working on your recovery, you're working on your relapse. So there's situations that become too stressful, and you rather deal with them now than later on in life. Because let's say, I know we're dealing with our whole credit situation, you know, if I would use everybody else's credit, wasn't worried about ours. But now it's like we're trying to take care of that. And sometimes things become stressful. And if you ain't strong enough spiritually, if you ain't spiritually fit, and you ain't that strong in your recovery, those things will eventually cause people to fall off, you know? So there's amends that you need to make, whether they're financially, personal, or in relationships, and just got to keep track of them. And remember, a clean house is in order.
Now, also keep in mind that in our Recovering Addicts Winning Raw AF support group on Facebook, on the top of the tabs, there are PDF files. And there you could find actual PDFs of the actual steps. So whatever step that you are on, it gives you a worksheet of things that you want to keep in mind when working your step with your sponsor or your support group. List the type of amends: reconciliation, emotional, financial, or others. You want to make a list. Now, these are just questions that you want to ask yourself as you're working it, right? But what we recommend and what we do is we keep a journal. We keep a journal of our growth, of our walk, and of our achievements, and of our setbacks as well. That way, 5-10 years from now, we're able to look back at that and see how much we have grown. So we highly recommend that. Okay, so the first one was list the type of amends. The second one is direct or indirect, regardless of what kind of amends you're making. If there could be a harm to others or other people is not available, direct amends or indirect amends is made. What method are you going to do? If indirect, how will you administrate the amend process? How will you know that you have accomplished this task? And basically what that is saying is, how do you know is enough? I made amends and I'm able to move on from that. I'm able to throw that one out my bag and I'm able to keep it pushing. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. It says, write what you intend to say. Me and my sisters, we used to do mock interviews whenever we had our job interviews, and one would sit down and act like they were the employer, and you know, we would just throw ideas. That way it's fresh in your head before you go to that person and you try to make that amends. Mm-hmm. Or you could also do it in front of a mirror. It doesn't have to be your crazy sister or your sponsor or your support group. We have our phone number on our website and our email address on our website for this purpose. We leave it there.
Remember, 9 o'clock is my new midnight, so.
No, it's 24/7. It's 24/7. And the reason why we put it out there is because we would rather you call us before...
Call the dope man.
Call the dope man, yeah. Remember, exactly.
Fuck
dope, right? So call us, and if we can't help you, we're 9 times out of 10 we know somebody who can help you
in the right direction,
and we're going to be there with you step by step, and in situations like this where if you don't have a sponsor or if you don't have that person that you could go to without any kind of judgment, bounce it off us, call us, and we'll be able to help you the best to our ability, and that's what it's there for. If you're close to relapse, you need somebody to talk to, you need help into a program, call us. We are real addicts, surviving, but we know firsthand what it is to be out there in that desperation. So never hesitate. Okay, so it says...
And if you ain't got your gear, raw as fuck. Hella raw AF.
Everything goes back to just, us being of service. There's a lot of people that we can't make amends to directly. And so just like Officer Black told us, the best way to make amends to him is to be in our community because we cause so much havoc in our community. What better way to give back, And so us doing these videos, making these shirts, doing our fundraisers, doing our donations, that's just us making an indirect amends to the people that we can't directly, make amends to. So by any means necessary, contact the person for making your amends. Schedule an appointment, time, or location. Write their reaction. This goes back to your journaling. When you're done making that amends, go back and write it down. That way whether it was good, bad, or indecisive, or whatever it is. Make a note of it. That way, again, 10 years from now, when, you're living your best life, you're able to look back at that, and it just makes you appreciate your recovery that much more when you have those memories to look back at. And, maybe 5 years from now, when that person who was like, oh, no, boo-boo, I don't forgive you, maybe you end up making an amends later on. And so, you're able to look back at that and value that relationship that much more. Right? It says, write a summary of what the results were and discuss them with your sponsor. That just goes into your journaling. My favorite, last but not least, is make a list of self-care, self-nurturing that you begin the healing process. Because don't think that just making amends is meaning towards other people. Making an amends is also to yourself. There's a lot of wrong that we did to ourselves that ultimately, was a ripple effect to other people, but it all started with self. So make amends with yourself. Self-care, self-nurturing, regardless of what it may be. If you're not right, then nothing else is right. And that's part of your healing process.
We love y'all.
Yes, go to hellorawaf.com. Get your gear. We got wristbands. We got so many things going on. September is National Overdose Awareness Month. And in that, we are just trying to push the awareness out. And recovery is possible, you guys. If you guys need us, we're here 24/7. We got nothing but love and respect for each and every one of you.
Don't forget the Serenity Prayer. Love y'all.
Bye.